Hey folks, how you doing? Papa Joe here. You know, it's Christmas time again. This, for some people, is the most joyous times. For others, it's the most dreaded, the hardest times. I want to remind you that if you are seeing somebody that seems to be having rough times and all that, don't just go bad mouthing them, call them a Scrooge and all that. It can be rough times for lots of different reasons, and I'm not going into them all. As adults, we can only imagine. And there's a lot of heartbreak, loneliness, and all that. And then with some of the parents, you know, feel like they're not doing right by their youngins, they're not providing good, and they're feeling guilty, and there's some that's living in the streets, you know. To them, a good Christmas would be a hot meal. So don't judge everybody by what's going on with you. I was speaking to a friend of mine earlier today, and he got telling me how he was out of his native area where he was born and raised, and he was in a totally different state, different city, and nothing between the two compared to anything, you know, and he was just out of place. And said Christmas morning, it all came to him that, man, I'm messing up. What in the world am I doing? So his words was he had hit rock bottom right there. You know, none of his family around him or nothing. He's basically by himself, and as he said it, he was living a lie. And that was his reality Christmas morning. So, you know, we all have our things going on in our lives. It's not all Christmas lights and lollipops. Not for everybody. For the new drivers out here, it can be extremely rough. If this is your first Christmas or two away from home, it can be very rough on you. It really can. And there's not a whole lot that I can tell you that's going to make it better on you. Other than that, hopefully, you put yourself in a position where you're providing better for your family. And that's one of the rocks that you have to hold on to, is that you put yourself in this position to provide for the family, for the wife and the babies. And you're doing what you have to do. If you find yourself slipping into the depression and all that stuff, hopefully you have a secure enough relationship with your wife or husband, whoever, that you can talk to them about it. If not, talk to your parents. And talk to your parents about Christmas past. Now, myself as an adult, I look back on some of my childhood Christmases, and I realize now what hard times my parents were going through. So if you talk to your parents, you'll find out that they were doing what they had to do to survive, just like you are. Uh, one of the main things that we always got at Christmas was new clothes, because that's when Mom could afford to get them. Stuff was on sale. It was the middle of the school year, so we could count on getting a new pair of tennis shoes that was only to be wore in the gym. Beginning of school year, we got a new pair of boots. And we had our old tennis shoes that we could wear for the summer. If we wore anything, most times we went barefooted. We was lucky to get one real gift besides clothes. And of course, now we're the country bumpkins. We would go into the city to see some of the city cousins, and Lord, they had some neat gifts, toys. I mean, all the modern new day stuff that we seen on TV. I mean, they got loaded down. We didn't get nothing to speak of. Many a year, I sat there and I sold pot rags for my mom, which I thought I was doing something, and she kept them around. She used them. But we did homemade gifts. If we gave anything to our siblings, it might have been a hand-me-down from us that we knew they wanted, or you might make them a pair of stilts, a rubber band gun, you know, something like that. Times were tough. I didn't realize until years later how tough they really were on my parents. And for many years I was very resentful. As a parent myself, I refused to give my children clothes for Christmas. They wanted them. No, won't do it. I was the same way about giving out money. No. So as you find yourself falling into any kind of depression, should it happen to you, hopefully it won't, remember, you're out here to better your lifestyle at home. You're out here to take care of your family. And stop and think back. And if there's no rough times that you remember, talk to your parents. I'll bet you there was a few, at least in the beginning. I know, there's some silver spoon stories out there, I'm sure. But it's all a part of that damn thing they call being a grown-up. You know? Life is nothing but getting knocked out of the saddle, and you get up and get right back in the saddle and go on, and there's one guarantee. You're going to get knocked out of the saddle again. It's called life. It's called playing grown-up. Remember, as children, we couldn't wait to be a grown-up. Well, don't it suck now? So, just know that you're not the only one struggling either. There's plenty of people that are fighting the depression and fighting the hunger and fighting life. You know, so the best thing that you can cling to is to remember it's about his birth. He had to be born to save you and I. It's about his birth. And if you're a young parent, I would like to encourage you to carry on a tradition that my family, that I started in my family, and my children are carrying on with it. And that's to make sure that you sing happy birthday to Jesus. It just kind of puts the right feel in the air. And you remind the children what Christmas is about. The gifts that you are giving are a resemblance, what word am I looking for? It's a reflection of the gift that God gave us through the birth and the death of His Son. Christmas shouldn't be about just the gifts, by no means. But it should be about God gave us a gift. Thus far, on the birthday of Jesus, we shared gifts just like God did. Now that's a hillbilly version. Break it down your way. You know, I do hope that none of you are fighting with the depression, the holiday depression. And it is statistically proven that this is a very rough time on a lot of people. I hope it's not affecting y'all. If it is, fight it. Fight it tooth and nail. Claw your way up out of that deep hole. There is a light. There is a sun. And that sun is the one that was sent down here for us. Ask Him to help you fight it. Ask Him to get you out of that hole. And if you know somebody that's fighting it, or you think they're fighting it, talk to them. Talk to them. Discreetly. Talk to them. See if you can help them. With that, I do want to wish y'all a very Merry Christmas. I want you to know that this holiday season is a resemblance of the love that He does show us and that He has for us. So, need I even say, remember, God loves you, and so do I. His birthday's coming up. There's the proof of that love. Y'all be careful out there. God bless you. Good night. Or should I say, Merry Christmas.